So here's our goals. I'm going to introduce myself so you know who I am. We're going to talk about why you're here, what the learning you want to do. We're going to go through as many tools as you can. Did anybody come to this session last year? Okay, good. Yes. All right. So I'm going to start at the end because of that. So you'll notice my numbering will start with 94 and go backwards because if you came last year, we didn't get to everything. So then at the end, we're going to have some domination time. I'll give you my contact info and then some tears because I think we're going to really get to know each other the next 50 minutes. All right? So what is this session? It's fast-paced. It's full of lots of ideas. There's examples, full of things you can use tomorrow, but there's also things that you're going to need to walk away with and think about long-term. And some of those, I'm going to do another session at 11:15. That's going to be, I'm picking out 6 or 7 of these things, which I'll tell you what they are. And then 11:15, we're going to talk about them, and we're going to go into how do I actually use them in the classroom. We're going to look at examples. And things like that. It's supposed to make you leave with questions, so it is not going to be slow. It is not going to be the same every year. You're not going to have time to use these tools today because we're going so fast. But then bookmark, keep this, do whatever it is so you can kind of come through. It is not a time to judge others, and what I mean by that is sometimes people are like, oh, you didn't know Google could do that, and like, you know, I still get that all the time. And that's not really what we're here for. We're here to learn and move forward. So my name is Cassidy Peterson. This is my 3rd year being a secondary technology innovation coach at Pleasant Valley School District. My Twitter handles are at the bottom, so that's probably the best way to get in touch with me. Aaron Mauer will talk about it a little bit, but he always talks about your token picture of your family. So there's my family. They're super cute if you didn't know. My wife's all in the right, and then we got Peyton, Parker, and Piper. So that was us at our first day of school. Super great. And last year I talked about this. My wife is pretty much the reason why I'm thinking as good a teacher as I am. She's an elementary teacher, so when we talk about stuff, she'd always be talking about like how she would give kids scoring assessments, and then she would differentiate. I'm like, well, what do you call that? And her response was teaching. And then that really made me think like, wow, so she can do it, why can't I? And all these tools are what helped me do it. So that's my goal, not all these, so some of them. So Aaron Mauer's there in the front, you can't see him, he's bald. So he's back there. But I like to kind of give credit where credit is due, and the idea came from this. My first idea of this session was called Rapid Nerding, and it was based off of Aaron's session called Speed Geeking. So Aaron's pretty awesome. He got an iTech award last year. I'm sure you're probably going to go to some sessions. If you're not, he's super great. But everything, can't say enough about all the stuff that I've learned. He's one of those great people, if you know anything about Russian Hurley, where he talks about how you're not supposed to compare yourself to. Because when I talk to Aaron, it makes me feel like I'm bad at my job, but it pushes me in a good way. And kind of not like I feel bad at myself, but it makes me want to get better. So, thanks, Aaron. So I'm going to tell you guys why you're here. And we're all looking for that fast pass. We're looking for that backstage pass where we can move forward, we can do things quicker and more effectively than we ever have before. And that's what I want to show you. I'm not showing you these tools so you can seem cool. I'm showing you these tools so then that way you can go back, you can use them, and then that way you have more time to really get into differentiation. You have more time to really help your kids and move forward. So the first one we're going to talk about. So I'm going to use this one as kind of like a setup. So Mentimeter, you probably use this. It's a good presentation tool. A lot of them, I use it probably more than I did when I was a teacher. But it's a great way to kind of get like formative assessments from your students over here. Every slide is going to be set up the same way. It's going to be a title, it's going to be a little description of what it is, and then a link to that actual thing. So if you want to use it, great. If you don't want to use it, then don't skip it and go on to the next one. The next slide will probably be an example of what it looks like. So on Mentimeter, when I use this in my school, we have 4 hours. We actually have time to look at these things. Then I ask them, how do you want this presentation to go? Do you want me to go super fast and just give you a lot of stuff? Do you want to go slow when you actually want to use implementation? Then it gives me a little feedback graph so I know how to kind of present myself moving forward. Next, Word Out. It's like Wordle, but cooler because you can pick what it looks like. So there's a link. So Word Out. So I go in here, I type in my words. So if I want to describe myself, I go through, I type my words in. After that, I get an option of what type of shape I want. So do I want something that would be like a koala bear? Do I want a star? Do I want a heart? Depending on whatever I'm using. I can pick whatever I want. From then I can pick kind of different fonts. I can pick what it looks like. I can pick the layout of it if I want the words to go vertical, horizontal, whatever it is. And then from there, it kind of gives me my, I can make it happen, and then I get my little panda bear there on the right. So I can kind of pick whatever I want. One thing that's not like Wordle, Wordle gives you each letter looks a little bit bigger, but you kind of make this, so I think of, my wife is a reading specialist, we'll talk about later, but she kind of uses that to kind of show the kids with the books they're reading. Next, Wavelet. If you've ever used Padlet, I love Padlet. Unfortunately, it's not free anymore, so you only get 3 walls. Wavelet is becoming super, super awesome, so if you've never used Wavelet before, I'd really push that. Okay, there's a link to it. It's like Padlet, a way for you to kind of blog or put your things together and students can actually use it. So here's an example of a wakelet. Here's all my different links that I have. So to see how it's kind of like a Padlet, I'm setting these up. I have little search areas over here. I have different things all over the place. So if you want to see a better example or you want to see this one in real life, you can click on that example. We all know the Wi-Fi here is not going to be great, so it might take a little bit. But if you see that link up there, so if it's underlined, it means I actually have an example for that, so you can kind of go see that. So Wakelet's super great. A lot of teachers use this as a way to kind of house resources. So I had a Google site where I would just basically, it was a glorified Google of all the different things that kids could use in my classroom. But now I could use a Wakelet if I didn't want to create a whole website of just, hey, here's Unit 2 teaching about the states of matter. So here's everything I found about which states of matter on this one. And then kids can access it and use it from there. Next one, Google Jamboard. How many have heard of Google Jamboard before? Yes, love Google Jamboard. I'm an instructional coach now, so I did a coaching cycle with a physics teacher around Google Jamboard, and it was super awesome. So in Google, it's under the new, the more button down here, and then there's all these super awesome things that people don't know exist because we forget to click on that. And then you can see the Google Jamboard. But what it is it actually is a drawing feature. So there's Google Drawings, and what Google Drawings is Google Drawings allows you to kind of create images, kind of like almost like a Photoshop or a photo or paint. But Google Jamboard allows you to kind of create jams or Jamboards.
To look at instead of me doing it.
Right here.
Okay. I'm just gonna have mine open just so in case there's any corrections or something.
Awesome. And then they're able to draw on their free body diagrams to show which way arrows go. So we're going to talk about this later in my session at 11:15. If you'd like to learn more about that, so to kind of come back to it. But it's a super great way for kids to draw and interact with things and kind of they've never done before in Google. Google Maps and Google Earth, so this is kind of 3 tools in one. Google Maps, if you've never used Google Maps, it's GPS, it's awesome. How to use it in the classroom, because a lot of people think, well, I use it when I'm driving, so here's a link to actually 10 different ways you can use it in the classroom. Google Earth is a globe. You can create some things on there. And we'll kind of go a little bit more into it. So I love these things, tour creator, virtual reality. So this is my son Parker, so I wanted to kind of show you him because he loves wearing spandex. So
You wear sword wax that. I need to wear the wax. Thank God I paid to wear these boots.
Where's your information? Hit a push it harder.
right here, we actually created our own tour.
Okay, and then you can move on interest
In
points.
session 11:15, we'll talk about
So
it.
click, and then an arrow should come up and show you where to look. And then look at your interest points.
Where's my... Oh wait, this is not... No, this isn't evolution.
And then click that when you get to the interest points. And your pictures.
Sweet. So you see your face at the end, right? That's the whole point of it, right? That's why we do this, because we want those kids to have those ideas. So the great thing about Tour Creator, if you've never used it, you build everything in 2 dimensions, and then they get to see it at the end in 3-dimensional, or in that 360 space, and it just blows their mind what they can create. How many of you ever watched Carmen Sandiego? Oh yeah. Have you guys played the new game? Okay, there's a new game on Google, Carmen Sandiego. Now, it's a total weird, this might be inappropriate, but she's like way hotter than I remember when I was watching the show. So, but there's different things they can use where they go all around the earth and they learn about different areas trying to find Carmen Sandiego. If you've never played this game before, there's a total mind job at the end of what Carmen Sandiego does to you. So I really recommend to use it. So social studies class in our school are using this as a way to kind of learn around the world, but it uses that Google Earth and 360 images in different places. The next one, Google Voyages. So I taught science and we had to teach about the day the dinosaurs died, and there's a whole voyage that takes you around the Earth, and it shows you all these different ways of how we know that the dinosaurs actually died the way that we guessed, or we were predicting, because of all the evidence. So it takes you to the KT boundary, it takes you to the Yucatan Peninsula, and it shows you all that evidence, and then there's videos about it. And those are pre-made voyages that they have done for you, and then you can kind of determine how far those things are. All right. So Tour Creator, we're going to skip a little bit first, but I like to look at it this way. This is my old way of giving presentations. So this is a solar system presentation with an earth science classroom. Here's a student standing in front talking about this is Saturn. Here we go, all these kids are looking. This old school, that's what we wanted to do in the past. Now we're changing kids to creators. Here's the new school way. So instead of the student standing in front of the classroom and saying, this is what you need to know about Saturn, they're using the virtual reality glasses, and she created a virtual tour where the student's sitting at a meteor looking at Saturn, so they actually feel like they're in the solar system learning about Saturn. That student is still giving the same presentation, They're just talking to students while they're actually immersed in what it is. So instead of them standing in front of it and all the kids saying, okay, that's great, I don't know what's going on, she actually created interest points in there, so the students are actually hitting buttons and they're having things come to life, and text boxes are popping up and pictures are popping up to teach them all about Saturn. So, if you want to learn more about that, today in room 305 at 11:15, we'll be diving more into tour creators. So if you're like, that sounds awesome, then we'll look at it today, this afternoon. 90, Anchor. So I've done a lot of podcasting, I've messed around with GarageBand and some other options, and Anchor is the best thing that I've found that I really like. It's super simple for kids to make podcasts, so if that's something you want to do. If you've ever done a podcast before, or you've ever had kids videotape themselves or use a microphone, it's amazing how much better they are when they actually are doing something that's, you tell them, hey, this can go on the internet. They want to do better. Their discussions are better, their preparation is better. But what's awesome about Anchor is they just basically have little clips. And what they do is they click and drag this over, and then this is their episode. So their episode just plays a bunch of clips in a row. So they don't have to tape the whole thing at once. They can take 3 minutes at a time. Other thing is over here they have a record button. They can actually call each other's shows and then leave a message. So they can say like, oh, let's hear from our guest caller. And then they can play the next message, which is someone else from a different phone calling into theirs. So if you want to see some example anchors, there's the button up there, and I'll take you to the book fence, which Beth Campbell, which you'll learn about her at 9 o'clock today. She's my elementary counterpart, so that's her example of Anchor, and some good things that happen there. 91, this one is paid for, but I just absolutely love this. This was like my favorite thing when I was a teacher, so I'm not paid by Vimeo or anything like that, so trust me. But it's super awesome if you ever use it. It's a way for you to kind of collaboratively see what's going on one by one. I say it works best for an iPad because you want to have a touch screen. So they're starting to become more touchscreen Chromebooks. Some people use it online, but that's just the consensus that I've heard is that we use that. So our math and science department have pay for this. And I think it's about between $100 and $200 a year per teacher, which sounds like a lot, but it's so worth it. So what happens is the teacher kind of sends a question out to the students, and the students answer on their iPad, and the teacher sees a little screen of what each individual student is saying. They can use all the Vimeo tools, so they can draw right on it, they can make shapes, they can move things around, but then the teacher also has the ability to pause your screen if you're messing around. And then as a teacher, there might be 30 kids working on this problem right here, but she just picked 4 out of the classroom, because I want to see 4 different ways to answer this question. So I'm going to display those 4. So that was super awesome. So like, it gets a little overwhelming, I'm not going to lie. So this was my screen when I would use it, and here's the students working on some math problems, and I would see this on my screen. So then now I can click, oh, I want Billy, Bobby, Jeffrey, and Jamie, and those are the 4 I want to see. I always did it anonymously, so I didn't know who it was, so the only way that people would know who was actually sharing is if the students tell you, oh, that's mine, that's mine. And sometimes I pick out ones that were incorrect, and we have to talk about that. But it was a great way for me as a teacher to see a snapshot of every single kid in my class, or I had 15 iPads, half of my classroom, to see what they were learning. Part of the reason I really wanted to go to this was the idea that I would have 5 questions for my bell ringer, and I'd ask 5 kids in the class, and I'd say, oh, we all get it, because those 5 kids got that question right. And then I'd leave that at the end of the day, I'd be like, wow, every other kid was lost, and I just got lucky, I picked the 5 kids that raised their hand. So this gave me a better snapshot of what was going on in the classroom. If you want a free option to that, there's Go Formative, which it works, it's not as slick, I don't like it as much, and I'm not trying to say that I hate it, but it just is a little bit more laggy, but you get the same option there. So you have this, here's every student's screen, so you can kind of see it, and then you can go through and you can grade on a scale of 1 to 10, you can give them. You can't do the options of picking the 4 or 5 students you want to display to the class, but you at least get a big idea of what each student is doing. So if Vimeo Mobile is not an option for your school, then you can do that. There is a free trial of Vimeo Mobile, so I know how admin loves data. So if you want to do that, that's what I did for 30 days. And I said, hey, look, I use this every day for 30 days in a row. I'm pretty sure I'm going to use it for 2 years. So can we get one? And they got me one, and it was amazing. And I just can't say enough about it. 93 code spaces, you can make augmented reality, virtual reality environments. So if you start doing tour creator and you're getting through that and your kids are really dominating and they want to go to the next step, this is how they can actually make their own space. So if they wanted to make an actual environment that's, hey, here's where my guys are, and I want to see what does our school look like, what does this look like, they can actually look at that and create their own augmented reality or virtual reality. They can put on those glasses like I showed earlier, they can look around and see those things. Google Internet Awesomeness. So I kind of put this up here for digital citizenship. Here's a link to it. But if you're wondering how to teach digital citizenship, this is game-based learning on digital citizenship. So it has them go through and they have to create a password that's strong enough so that nobody can get into their castle. So they work about what does a strong password look like. Then they have to go on and make themselves digitally safe. So they have to protect themselves certain different ways. So depending on where you are in your digital citizenship, if you're K through 12, whatever you are, and you want to do that, here's something that has worked pretty well. And I've used some lessons and I like it. Animator, so this is a whiteboard. I always see these little videos, and I always got through these, and I love these whiteboard videos, but I wasn't sure how to actually make these work, so I found this website. Unfortunately, it's free up to, I think, 2 or 3 minutes, but if you watch on my video, I use my 2 or 3 minutes pretty awesome. So I have this part, and then after that, so this is like 27 seconds, then I click, well then I showed some things that we do in the classroom. So then I only use my 3 minutes, so then I use iMovie to kind of splice it all together to make sure I got that theme that I wanted. So this is kind of something that I showed during parent-teacher conferences to show like, hey, we actually do our jobs here at Pleasant Valley. So here's a quick video that you can watch about that. And then throughout the video, I use that whiteboarding technique mainly because I want to kind of show that. This is a great thing if you've ever done a makerspace, don't ever do this. We did cardboard challenge, so they had to build something out of cardboard, and then everyone else had to shoot little rubber stoppers at it, and the rubber stoppers aren't strong enough, so people got really upset. So, an animator. Google Feud, if you've never played Google Feud, it's like Family Feud, but on Google. So you go to there, and then there's different options. There's Google Feud, autocomplete, or photo complete. So what Google Feud, probably more of a brain break. I don't, you can find some good things for it, but on Google Feud, what it is basically you type in, and it's asking you, if somebody types in, what is Reese Witherspoon's, then it says blank. You have to guess, what would the next thing that Google would autocomplete? So sometimes it's like, what is her birthday? What is her underwear size? I don't know, whatever you think it is. And you go from there, and then you're just guessing and kind of get an idea of what Google would auto-populate. Apple Clips, how many of you use this? Oh, so great. This is so awesome. I just can't tell you enough about how much I love this. I would show you a clip that I made, but it was at Oktoberfest with my buddies from high school, so it's not anywhere near appropriate for this. But it was super great because you just take all these little clips and you put it together. So more appropriate would be something that we did. I'm going to play both of them just so you can kind of see what goes on. But this is something the students made for my daughter and I made just messing around. So you have different clips that you can put in. So you have different screens, and if your phone has facial recognition, it kind of has automatic green screen in the background. So you can't tell, but we're in the Incredibles. I forget what the Incredibles are. Pretty soon, yep, there's Mrs. Incredible right there. So you can kind of pop in, you can do different things. Over here, they have different ideas. So they're showing different pictures that they found, and then they're showing, okay, so then they have little words that pop up. And you can voice record over. It's like iMovie, but way faster and super simple. So one thing probably the best thing I've ever seen of this is one of our elementary teachers does this every week for a newsletter. So she has her kids make a video, sends it home instead of letters. And that's what it is. So here we go. There's Monsters Inc. There's me. The whole, if you want to watch the video, it's pretty awesome. It's me going for a lip sync taser, but then there's this whole little mind twist at the end that my daughter throws on me. So some different things in Apple Clips. Flipgrid, super awesome. It's so great. Just a different way for students to kind of make videos and use things that and answer questions. So if you've never used a Flipgrid before, here's one that we did at in-service the other day. This is a way for us to get introduced to our new teachers. So I put these QR codes all around the library. Teachers walked up and they scanned the QR codes and they watched a video about each one of our new teachers so you could learn about them. And you just go around. It works on Chromebooks, works on cell phones, things like that. And then if you've never used Flipgrid before, it comes up in a grid of all these different pictures. And super great. If you want to learn more about Flipgrid, we're going to talk about a lot more at 11:15, so come to room 305. I'm just going to keep doing that until you guys show up. So, Adobe Spark. There's 3 different ways you can make Adobe Spark. There's a graphic. So here's an example video. There's a graphic. There's a video. I'm brain fart. And a web page. So if you don't want students to create an entire website, they can create a web page So this is
Today, many women are facing the wage gap
So
in the
this was a video
workplace.
that we made for PSAs. With
The wage gap discriminates against women and prevents them from attaining economic equality.
Where you make a slide,
Although
and
women
then
in the
you
United States
talk
have
over it
more
and it
college
goes recorded.
degrees than men,
So each
they are
slide
still paid
is
less
put
and are
together
facing
in
the
a
wage
video.
gap.
So it's pretty
It started
simple
with
to
true.
use.
40.7% of women in the labor force have college degrees, but only 36.4% of
So
men
this has
have
been
them.
really good for teachers.
This shows that qualifications are always taken into consideration.
For making videos because it's so simple. It only gives you like 4 options of how you can lay it out. There's only so much time you can do. There's only so many colors you. So it's not like iMovie where you have the whole world in front of you. You only have a couple of options, so that's great. 77, this is 2 options. There's Pear Deck. There's a Google Slide version, which is paid, but it's still pretty good. And then there's the vocabulary one, which is unpaid, and we'll look at some examples. So I love the vocabulary one. So my old job was a science teacher, and I still love science. But what happened is that the students would partner up. One partner would have to draw an example of the definition or the word that you give them. The other student would have to write an example of it. So then they would be a team, they'd work together, they'd do that. They'd get another word and they would switch. So the program knows. At the end of that, then as a class or as a teacher, however you want to do this, I've seen it done as a class, you look at this. Okay, this is nuclear membrane. So this is what they wrote down for the example. This is their picture. What do we think? Is this good? Not so good. So then as a class, not only are they reviewing, but then we're reviewing. It also works on, if you want to go into like life skills, shifting your perspective. Okay, I think nuclear membrane means this. But now I'm looking at some other kid that talks about it this way. Is he correct or am I correct? So I'm learning to look at things differently. So you can teach other life skills while using Pear Deck and not just, hey, let's memorize vocabulary. So that's one way. The other way is in Google Slides. So if you do PowerPoints and lecture style things, so this would be similar like what I'm doing now, but then I would have a question like, hey, how many of you are with me right now? Do you agree or do you disagree? And then you would vote and I would know as a teacher where you're at. Okay? Some other options, I had clickers in my room, so like the student response systems, I use those all the time, so that's like what I would use. But if this is better for you, then by all means go for it. 78 seesaw, holding buckets. I love this. I cannot tell you so much about it. And guess what? If you want to learn more about it, when should you come? 11:15. Guess what? Same room, so you don't even have to leave. You can stay here the whole day. It's great. Okay? So it's a student-driven portfolio. And here's an example of seesaw that we're using with a math class right now. So our big idea is that we want students to get better at giving each other feedback. Like they should be able to learn from each other. So we're using that. So here's one of my 2 examples. So Brody down here, you can see there's a lot that I haven't done it yet. But I can look at Brody's example, and this is what Brody put. So I give him a question, and then he shows me what he knows. He has options of what he can do. And there's 6 different ways. Like I said, if you want to learn more about it, room 305 at 11:15. Okay, next one, TouchCast. So if you notice, we have a production room in the junior high. So here's a great thing about it, is green screen. How many of you have TouchCast? Yes, no? Oh, super great. There is a little disclaimer about kids under 13, so you have to watch out for that. So I will tell you that. But here's the green screen. But if you look at Solar's iPad down here, it's not a green screen behind them. It's actually a new studio. So it's an app on the iPad. So here's Will Ferriman. He was one of my worst students of all time. Just kidding. He did make some bad choices, but it's not quite all watching. So this is the thing that they created on TouchCast. So I'll show you.
Fairman reporting from Channel 8 News from Bentonville.
So you see, green screen's behind him, he's doing that. But then the nice thing about it is you also get subtitles that you can have pop up. So if you want to actually add things, they can be about who it is, what they're talking, it can be what they're talking about. There's also pop-ups that you can do, so you can have pictures that pop up, kind of like Saturday Night Live. Or you can even have text boxes pop up where you type in whatever you want. So the students can kind of create whatever they want using that. So, once again, if you want to learn more, come to 11:15 at 3:05. I know that seems like a lot, but it's a lot less than we're going through now, so I feel like I'm going to have so much time. Gym kit. So this is like Quizlet and Kahoots, but then with gambling. So if you want to teach your students to grow up in Iowa and learn how to gamble, then use this one. So, it's great. There is a paid feature of it, so there's also a free version too. So what it is so here, you have time where you can actually play. So you can set it for days, for weeks, for months. You can have it be like a semester review, you can have it be a quarter review, you can play it in class. But what happens is after, so I thought I had another big picture, but after they do this, they get to bet on every question, so how much they think they're going to get it right. And then they can buy things like, hey, if for $50 you can get rid of 2 options on the next question. For $100, the next question will be worth twice as many dollars. So they did that. So they could bet and they could try to get as much money as possible by reviewing. Kids love it because it's competitive. Like I said, it's like a hoot, but with gambling. Okay, or goes a lot. Triller, so here's a little music video that we made where we had a teacher leaving, so I'll kind of hit play. But it's like link sync and dub, but you actually can kind of just, it does it for you. So you don't have to do any video editing, so here's our So what happens is you shoot the video like as many as you want, and then it just automatically for a second. The other thing that's great about it is you can actually make your own songs and upload them. So like my daughter did one for her reflections one year, which she did anyway, which I think is totally cool. So, but anyways, she did one about like Try Anything from Zootopia. You guys know that song? But it was about bullying. So she wrote all the words, we recorded it, and then we uploaded it. So then she sang using this. And for whatever reason she didn't win because it was bogus, but whatever. This is a cool, super simple, awesome one. So this is maybe more of a teacher one than a student. But as a student, so on Google, on Docs, if you didn't know, if you highlight something and hit comment and you hit plus, it will actually bring up somebody's email, and then you can assign that comment to them. So then it will email them telling them, hey, this comment has been about you, you should go look at this document. And then you can actually mark them as the only person that can mark it as done. So then they have to actually do that. So for students, what we did in my class was that we had group projects. You had to actually go in and then say, I was going to do this part, I'm going to do this part, and you assign it to that person. So that way I know everybody has full communication about who's supposed to do what, and I can look and see, nope, this was assigned to you, look at the comments right there. So it's just a nice way to kind of keep those important, or you can just, between teachers, if you guys are talking to your PLC or your collaborative teams, and you're talking about, hey, you should do this, then you guys can do that, or use these assigning comments so you know who's supposed to do what. A Raspberry HP reveal. I was like super high in this one like 8 years ago. It's basically like a QR code, but without using a QR. So it's a picture. So this is an amazing race that we did. So these kids are walking around and trying to learn things about Latin American countries or South American countries. So here you gotta walk up, hit the iPad 47 times. It's important to the process. And then it'll come up and it'll scan. You'll go to this watch. A video starts playing. So it's starting to talk about Haiti and Cuba, things like that. So the kids can kind of create these little things. But it doesn't have to be a QR code. It can be something in your room. So teachers are starting to use this for textbooks. So like in chapter 1, I'm going to say this picture, the last picture of every chapter is going to have a video that summarizes the chapter. And instead of me doing it, because I don't want to do all the work, I put a student in charge of every single chapter. So then every year they had to make the summary of that book, that chapter, and then that summary is there. And it's always going to be in that textbook, because that picture is always in the textbook. I can't put a QR code in every textbook because I'm not allowed to do those things, but that pictures are always going to be there. So that's just the reason why they found it super cool. This is a classroom that we used it for where they had to do a gallery walk about everybody researched things about World War II and events that led up towards World War II. So then everybody, so you can see here's all the pictures in the background, the kids had to walk around, they had to pick at least 5 different areas, and then when they would scan that, they would watch everybody's video about that different event, and then the end result was everybody had to write a summary of how those 5 events, whichever 5 they picked, led up to World War II. So some kids had 5 events, some kids had 7, some had the same 5, some had completely different ones. But they all were doing the same thing, which the standard was looking at events and how they affected history. Didn't matter if it was World War II, didn't matter which event they picked, they did those. Goose chase, so scavenger hunts that track your progress. It's great, it's a way to review. We did it as an informative unit, persuasive essays, notes. We could try one, but we probably won't have time for that, so we're probably going to skip through that. And here's an example. So we did this as an informative unit. So instead of always writing a paper about like why I am the way I am, which is one teacher already did, she wanted to do something different. So we did a goose chase where the kids went around the school and they had different missions that they had to do. So one was read this link, which was a Google Doc, and then summarize what is my evidence is from this. So you had to summarize evidence 1, 2, 3. And then the student that actually created the goose chase was giving feedback to the other student. So that way, basically what's happening here is the person is reviewing that person's paper, but it's not just like a regular review, which is, hey, here's my paper, will you read this and please give me credit or give me some outlook? This is actually, the kids are invested because they want to win the goose chase. They want to get as more points, so I'm going to give as best feedback as I can. There's some student examples on the bottom. I tried this for my 10-year anniversary, did not go over as well as I thought it would, but you know, whatever. And then, it's funny, I was presenting on this last year with Goose Chase, just a real quick side note, and I realized I've now been married for 10 years. So 10 years ago, I proposed on an old school Goose Chase, like a regular scavenger hunt, with pictures all over the county. And then the lady I was presenting with didn't even realize she went on a Goose Chase for her husband that presented like that as a 21st century version of a scavenger hunt. So it's super simple. If you're going to sign up, use this link because it goes to the educator login, so you get 5 free groups instead of 3 if you use the educator login. So you're going to want to make sure you sign in with the goosechase.edu or the edu. 4, Google Expedition. So these are those virtual reality kits. So this is a list of all the pre-made ones. I think there's like 900 plus that are pre-made. So if you click on that, you just hit Control F and you type in like Chichen Itza or Martin Luther King or States of Matter, whatever you want, and it'll tell you if they have anything that's made by that. And then you can kind of use those virtual reality tours. This is a little video which kind of shows just goes like this.
My name is Lance Teesling. I'm in middle school in Eagle Grove, Iowa. Eagle Grove is not a very tall place. It's actually very flat. This is the tallest building on Main Street. It is about 50 feet tall. When I grew up, I want to be an architect and design skyscrapers. Yesterday at school, we were on a class trip, but this was not a normal trip with buses. This was something very different. The very first expedition we went on was to the Burj Khalifa.
Then grab 2 hands and put them up to your face.
It's so tall.
Okay, we're going to go to the 153rd floor.
So if you've ever used that before, it's super awesome because it does feel like you're there. The other thing that's great about it is like for a science teacher, you can actually go inside a cell. So like that's something we cannot do. So I always like to tell people like if we want to use technology, I want it to be something that we can't do in the classroom. So this is something I can't do. I can't take you all over the world. But we're actually using this next week. I'm using this as a language arts class, and they're using the Syrian refugees because they want kids to know empathy and what it's like to be somewhere else around the world. So they're using this. So when they go, the kids are like, why are they sitting on the ground? Well, because they don't have a kitchen table, so they have to eat on the rug. It's like, what? Like, our kids don't get that. We have very privileged kids where I come from, so it's good for them to see those things. Next, Chrome extensions. I don't know, like 3 years ago, I kind of found out about these things, and they totally changed my life. They're super awesome. This link is just to all the Chrome extensions, like to the Chrome extension store. So here's some fun ones that are super great you need in your life right now. This is a GIF, whatever you want to say it. You get new tabs. Every time you open a new tab, you get this super cute animal. A lot of times it's tacos for some reason, just opening up. So depending on your mood, I like to put that if I want to be in a good mood. Second one, Bitmoji. So like I love having my Bitmoji over everything. So then that's I add on. I can add those in the docs. I can add them in the email before we got Gmail. Emoji one, that kind of gives you emoji. And then Do It by Shia LaBeouf. Let's turn this one on so we can kind of see, because we need to see exactly what this one does. This one's always great for kids to get a little bit of, might regret this. A second. Oh, I didn't even talk about that. We'll come back to that.
Just do it! Yes, you can! Just do it!
That's it. It's just to get jacked. You know, like get pumped up. This other one you can't see, I have it turned off. It's called In Cage. The tagline when you go there, it says, have you ever gone on the internet and thought there should be more pictures of Nicolas Cage? Well, this is the add-on for you. And all it does is it changes every image on the internet to Nicolas Cage, no matter what you're looking at. So I put that on my teacher, my friend's computer, and then she school stream said that every picture is turning into Nicolas Cage. She asked me what's going on. I said, well, why are you looking up so many pictures of Nicolas Cage? You know, Google really knows what you're supposed to be looking up, and then it just like kind of adjusts to it. So those are some fun ones. These are some schoolier ones. So I love Screencastify. If you guys raise your hand if you ever use Screencastify. It's great. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit in my session 11:15. But what it does is it's like Screencast-O-Matic, but it screen records, but then it saves right to your Google Drive. So it's super great because it saves you steps. And then you can send that out. Permanent clipboard kind of is almost absolute with the new add-ons to Google Classroom, but this allows you to kind of save like 25 comments in your add-on. So if you're like grading Google Docs and you always say the same thing over again, like your thesis is blah, 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 and it's like 45 seconds long, and you don't want to retype that every time, you can use that, and then every time you type in like and you hit it, it'll just change it to whatever you had saved for it. Momentum, this is like when you don't want to have fun and you want to get to work. Every time you open a new tab, it gives you this great quote. It tells you what your goal is for the day, and then it has your to-do list over there. So sometimes I turn that off, my to-do list gets too long because I just don't want to be reminded. Extensity, like, saves my life. So Aaron used to always talk about how he had so many different extensions that like his search bar was like this big, and all his extensions were like this long. So what Extensity does, it gives you this little bar that you can quickly turn on and off your extensions or add-ons if you're not using them. So that's really awesome. Here's a shameless plug. So there's a picture. Yeah, it's funny. I saw that. So this is a link to my quick clips. So every Friday I send out I try to be a minute and a half about quick clips. I call them quick clips because they're quick and they're things you can use in the classroom. So here's an example of one up here, and that's me in 90 seconds telling you how you can give feedback to students on Google Forms based on if they got a question right or wrong, which Google automatically do that for you. So if you didn't know that, awesome. Now watch this 90-second clip and then you know how to do that. So if you want to, you can go there, you can subscribe to your channel, and every Friday you'll get a link, you'll get a minute to 90-second clip that tells you something for you to do. So super awesome. Okay, some other ones. Google Keep, I love this one. It's like a digital post-it note. So we'll talk about this one at 11:15 because it's super awesome. But it saves your work basically on every website. So if you want to learn more about it, come back at 11:15. Insert Learning. This one turns any web page into like a quiz. So you can have a web page, then you can share it with your students, and you can insert questions, you can insert sticky notes, you can insert videos onto that actual web page. And then you can save it to your students, and then they will see that. So if you found a web page that's super great, it just is way above your students' level, and you want to make a video, or you found a video that would be, oh man, I wish this video was on this website, you can do that with Insert Learning. Save Google does what you think, it saves it in Google. Talk to comments, sometimes I don't like typing up 45 paragraphs or sentences to students, so then what I do is I use this and I can actually voice record, and it'll leave a little audio box right as a comment on a Google Doc, so students can listen. I will tell you, it does make your Chromebooks go super slow, so you want to have it disabled if you're not going to use it, because it will make it go slow. Alright, here's an example of Google Keep. So notice, my Google Keep up there is gray. I click it, I type something in about this website. So when I'm on this website, I want to know this thing. I navigate off that website. That is now gray again. I go back to the website I was supposed to. Look, it's yellow, and it remembers all the things that I typed up. Oh my gosh. So that means if students are going to websites and want to know things, they can put them in that digital post-it note, and it will remember it. Also, what's great is it integrates right into Google Docs. So it's like Noodle Tool. They take notes about this website on the right side of the screen, they go to the Google Docs, they click open Google Keep, and then now all their notes are on the right side. And then they can click and drag those in there right there. Okay, so once again, 11:15 if you want to know more about that. I'm trying to think. 321 I'm giving up, I forgot. Something else that is really important now, I remember. Share Google Classroom. So if you don't know what this is, it's a link where as a teacher you navigate to this website, and then you say, I want my classroom to go to this website. And instead of you actually sharing it to Google Classroom, you hit push to Google Classroom. Anybody that's in your Google Classroom, it will force open their Chromebooks to that web page. So you don't have to tell them, go to Google Classroom, click on assignments, go to this assignment, and click on this. It goes, boom, it just opens it up. They do have to log into the Chromebook. They can't be logged in as a guest. They have to actually be logged in as themselves. The best thing that happens, though, is also, like my IT director, he's over there in the other room, he was in Des Moines one day, and I did this to him, and I found pictures of himself, and I sent them to him. He's like, will you just make my computer open up some pictures of myself? I'm like, no, but that's really you look at yourself on the internet. It's a funny joke. All right. So, next one, keyboard shortcuts. So here's a lot of keyboard shortcuts. So I told you, saving time. So every time you hit right-click, control, or copy, and then right-click, paste, that wastes 3 seconds. And I say waste, but you use 3 seconds. So think about how many times you do that in a day, and then this would just save time. This one down here, Control-Shift-V. How many of you know about this one? This blew my absolute mind. So what Control-Shift-V is, try this right now. Copy keyboard shortcuts right there on my web, this slide right there, and then paste in the Google Doc you're typing in. It's going to be huge and not a lot of font. But if you hit Control-Shift-V instead of just Control-V, it's going to change the format so it's exactly what your Google Doc is in. So you don't have to highlight it and say change the font size, change the font, all that stuff. It just pastes it in exactly how you want it. So that's going to save you a minute every time, which leads you to doing better things for kids. So it's super awesome. Thing link, it's a picture that you can put links on it. So there's a bunch of stuff on there. So here's a picture I have this link right here, so when I click on it, then something else comes up. So this is my picture of Socratic Seminar, and when you click on this little white dot, then this information about Socratic Seminar comes up. You want to know more about it, you hit the read more button, and it'll take you to that. So you want an example? I think if you click anywhere on this picture, it'll take you to that exact thing link, so you can see what it's like. So students can use that too. They find a diagram of whatever. Hitler, 4 states of matter, a plus sign, whatever it is, and then they can put links on it to explain what those things are, so they can create those in the classroom. Tiny URL. I put this up here because I love goo.gl, but it's stupid, it's normally. So it's a web shortener. A lot of us use it, but some people don't know what it is. So if I want to type this off, so here's one for all the virtual reality stuff we did last year, 2018. You can go and see what that is, but it just is a way for you to share something a little bit quicker than just typing everything. Flippity. So it's you Google spreadsheet, and then it turns it into any one of these. There's actually more in there, so click on the one. But it uses, so it has a flashcard, it has a quiz show, it has a name generator, a scavenger hunt, well, all these things that you can create using Google Docs templates. So it does all those things for you. So if you ever wanted a root name generator, you click on Flippity name generator, and then it'll create that. You put your names in, and it goes from there. So there's lots of different options on there. How you use it in class is up to you. Quizlet. Last year, if you were in the session, we did Quizlet live with like 115 people. It was terrible, if you can imagine, because there was so many people. I mean, it worked fine, it was great. But we're not going to do that this year because it just took too long. But if you've ever used Quizlet live, it's super awesome. It's like Kahoot. The kids get in groups. But what I love about Quizlet live is it also tells you what the students struggle with. So that way you know as a teacher what I need to do differently. ClassTools.net, I've used this one for a long time. It's super great. I love it. It's kind of ghetto, the way it looks. So here's what it is. It just looks like, what is it, front page? Is that what we use to make websites in? That's what it looks like. But it's got so many good things there. It's got a scrolling Star Wars text if you want to make one of those, so it makes it there. It's got a little like hammer thing to help you make videos. This is actually how I made this, is Screencastify. If you do the pay version, which is like $20 a year, you can make your own GIFs, or however you say it. If you're incorrect or correct, it's up to you. But then this one I love. You insert questions and you get that many review games. So I answer my questions one time. I type in the questions that I want, and then all these kids get those different. So maybe they want to play Pac-Man, or they want to play Manic Miner, or they want to play Space Invaders. They have that choice, but you've done the work one time, and then they get a review game of all these different ways. Or they can create it. But the other thing to say about this, you can take your Quizlet live flashcards, and you can copy them and insert them right into ClassTools. So that way now you have Quizlet and all their games, you have ClassTools and all their games, and you've only done one slide deck. So you get all those review games for students. Super great. And if you want to know more, come back on the team. That puzzle, I think I forgot to change that to white. So let's act like that's white. But what a puzzle is it's a video where you can insert questions. So you can find videos on YouTube. You can create your own videos. You can look up videos on TeacherTube. There's different avenues or mediums you can find. But then from there, you can insert questions into the video. So when I started doing this, I inserted one question at the end that said, did you watch the video? Yes or no? And the great thing about it, they can't fast forward through the video. They have to watch the video in real time to get to the end, and then they would click yes. Then I at least started there. Then I thought, you know what, I probably could be better than this. So then I started inserting 5 questions after each part I thought was important. Then what I did the next day in class, which is the whole point that I would think of using this, is I knew what every kid got. So the kids got 5 out of 5, you're going over here. You got this, let's extend you. Kids got 3 or 4, you're going over here because you kind of get it. Kids that got 2, 1, 0, or didn't do it, you're going over here and we're going to work together and get this thing done. So that way I was able to have groups ready to go. Now I'm not going to lie to you, there were days where I came in and every single kid didn't have it done. So every kid had to go to the one group. And they didn't like that. But then next time, more and more kids did it. So then it also gives you this readout. Hey, here's Billy. How do you do on this question or on this question? You can see everyone. It shows you a yellow bar, and what a yellow bar means is that they got that question wrong, but they went back in and they tried to explain why they got it wrong. So they were trying to tell you that they understand it, and they just picked the wrong answer. So I tell the kids, I'm going to look at those. If you go back in and you show me you understand it, I'll give you the points, and you're going to go with the group that gets it the next day. But if you leave it red, that's showing me that you're not willing to do the extra work. So go on and do that. All right, classroom screen. So this is a great one. It's super great. I don't have an example of it, but all these different options on the bottom, those are different things you can use in the screen. So your screen is basically just going to be a blank canvas. And then if you want to pick up a background, you can change the picture. Or if you want to say, hey, it's time to work symbol. So this is something that's, we have time? Nope, we don't have time. But what happens, like I said, you can basically make your own screen. So I use this traffic light, and I said, hey, when it's red, you need to be working by yourself in quad. When it's yellow, you can work with a partner. And when it's green, do whatever you want as long as you don't kill anybody. So then that way they kind of knew what was going on in the classroom. So they had that visual. There's also this great thing over here, a sound level. So you can work with a partner, but if it gets above 37 decibels in this classroom, we're all going back to working by yourself. So then I put my webcam in the middle of the room, and then they're don't move for us. Quiet, go. So then they kind of are monitoring themselves. So that's something you can use. So I encourage you to go look at that because I kind of put an example. PDF Candy, I don't know if I felt really not smart when I found this like 3 years ago. This takes Word documents and takes our PDF documents and turns them into Google Docs or to Word document. So like I would always find things online and I do the thing where you white it out and then you write over it with your pen, then it looks weird. This actually will scan it and then turn it into a Word document. It does a pretty good job. It usually uses diagrams, pictures, and things like that. So there's other ones out there. This is just the one I like the most, the PDF Candy. Quick draw with Google. So we're gonna try this one because I gave it some time. So a quick draw is it's kind of like a brain break. No, we're running out of time. So it'll ask you, it's like draw a piece of pizza, and you try to draw it, and then it'll guess it. Auto draw with Google. This is like if you're like, oh, I really want a picture of a pig, but I can't find any good ones online. You can use auto draw, and then you'll start drawing a pig terribly, and then it'll guess, hey, is it redrawing this or this? And then you kind of create that. Google Keep, we've talked about it a little bit before. And the Google Explore button. I just did my last quick clips about this, and I was so excited to hear. On the bottom right of Google Docs, there's an Explore button. If you've never hit it, hit it. You can insert images right in your Google Doc. You can actually do citations right in your Google Doc there. So it'll give them MLA, APA, or Chicago-style citations right there. So you don't have to go and find that link and paste it somewhere else. So here's that video that I talked about. This is me explaining in quick clips how to use that. So if you want to know how to insight sites or do sites, use that one. Google Apps for Education, I'm probably going to go. So you guys probably heard about all these. I think so. Those Google Classroom is awesome. Okay. Hangouts me. Google Trends. That's something that I kind of learned from Aaron a couple years ago. But you can look up and you can see like, hey, I'm going to look up and see water polo. And see how that spikes every 4 years and talk to kids about why is this spiking every 4 years. So you can see the kind of trends in Google and what people are looking at. YouTube Live. So here's a link to Beth and I, the other counterpart. We do every 2 weeks a YouTube Live channel. So every 2 weeks we take about 10 minutes. We just try to describe something. We talk implementation, how you use it, things like that. So if you want to subscribe and get those every 2 weeks, then go click on that, and then you're going to kind of learn about all these different things that you can use in the classroom. All right, I think we're going to end on this one because it's about time. So Google Forms. So this one, I'm going to show you an example. If you want to learn more at 11:15. So the example that you click on will show you how to actually send kids to certain sections based on their responses. So depending on whatever they are looking for, you can do that. There are more in there that I didn't get to. I think I did pretty good trying to get through. Thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you guys all at 11:15.